Megan asked me to share on the 5 love languages. And I thought, ooh. For those of you who may not be familiar with the 5 love languages, it's a really huge new fad that started off in the church by a minister / author, and it spilled over into the mainstream culture. It's a big deal for millennials. It's a big deal for the younger generation. And basically, the 5 love languages are physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, and acts of service. And the point of the 5 love languages, according to the book, is so that you and your partner can communicate effectively what the two of you need from each other. That was the purpose. But of course, it's gone into mainstream. And unfortunately, everything that God has that's good, the enemy has a counterfeit. And so now you're faced with individuals who are looking for someone to fulfill their love language for them, and they're not as concerned about fulfilling their partner's love language. So it's become something that is selfish, unfortunately. And so I want to talk about 5 love languages, its true purpose, its true intentions, and then God's plans for it in a marriage. So basically, my concerns with how the 5 love languages have evolved into our society is that now you have Christian couples that are going into premarital counseling, ready to get married, but they're doing everything in a selfish manner, right? What have you done for me lately, right? I scratch your back, you scratch mine. If I do this for you, what are you going to do for me? And it's so interesting and humbling because I've been married 3 years, and just this past week, my husband and I had a little squabble. And horrifically, I heard out of my own mouth, I said to him, "What about me?" And I couldn't grab the words back, you know? What about me? What about me? And I feel like our society is just inundated with what about me? And if we're not careful, we'll take on that attitude of the world and put it into our Christian lives and our Christian marriages, and it's so destructive. Because we know that love is not for our own individual purposes, but it's to glorify God in the way we treat other people. And so that's the purpose of the 5 love languages. And I wanted to visit 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4, and I lost my place, so I might not get here it is. Okay, so 1 Corinthians 13, very quickly, we know it, we hear it in weddings every year. It's something that, people think is just such a beautiful profession of love, which it is. But we know that God's word is a double-edged sword, right? So, love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast, is not proud, does not dishonor others, is not self-seeking, is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. That sounds really beautiful to say, but if we look at it, we understand that this is a profession of sacrifice. Why does love have to be patient? Because the other person won't be. Why does love have to be kind? Because the other person won't always be. Why does love have to not be proud and not be self-seeking and not be dishonoring? Because sometimes in love, we will be dishonored. Sometimes in love, our personal needs won't get met. And so when we think about quality time and gifts, acts of service, words of affirmation, all of these things, it should compel us and propel us to seek on how we can be that for the other person. Whether you're married, whether you're a new mother like me, whether you're an established mother, whatever the situation you find yourself in, these 5 love languages is for us to reflect Christ in the other person's life, not necessarily for them to fulfill what we think we need for our personal satisfaction. And so I'm sorry I moved your name, but I wanted to focus on godly love is sacrificial. That means that I have to give of myself so that the other person can see Jesus. We're to love our husbands for his position and not for his practice, for his fulfillment of our personal needs. It begins in dating. This isn't going to happen automatic once you get a ring on your finger. A lot of times people think, well, I'm just going to worry about the wife stuff when I become a wife, right? But we need to be practicing this in our daily lives. It should be a part of our character, a part of our makeup, because if Christ is living in us, we can't help but show him wherever we go and in whatever situation we find ourselves. So it's something we can practice in dating. We don't have to wait until marriage to practice this. It's also used to compliment our spouse and not as a tool to compete or take measurement. So that means I don't fulfill your love languages only when you fulfill mine. That means that I fulfill your love languages because you are my husband, because of the position that God has allowed you to be in my life, for our ministry that he has blessed. Love is not tangible. So remember, it's not about what he does or doesn't do. It's not about, oh, you did this last week, and so you need to continue to do this week and meet my expectations. It's not about that. And it's not about always sacrificing. It's about sacrificing and not compromise. We hear that word a lot. Compromise, what does that mean? 50-50. But we know that loving Jesus' way is always 100%. We don't have room for 50-50. And that was something that the Lord has really been dealing in my heart, because, it's like, all right, I'm telling you, this is what's going to make me happy. Why are we still having these same conversations? I don't want to tell you what I want to do tonight. I want you to Google something and surprise me. I've been asking you to do this for the past year, And of course, I'm like, well, fine, you know what? I'll meet you halfway. But that's spiritually lazy. We have to be willing to do what Christ does for us every day. And every day he gives us 100%. So we have to be willing to give 100% to our husbands, no matter what. And so lastly, I just want to kind of go over what these 5 love languages mean and what they should look like, okay? So the 5 love languages, it looks like Jesus. So the quality time. Jesus found time to spend and love people wherever they were. We see that in Mark 2 and in John chapter 3. Acts of service. Jesus healed, he restored, and he forgave others all the time. We see this in Luke 8, Luke 17, and Mark 6. Words of affirmation. Jesus spoke encouragement to other people. He spoke life wherever he went and into whatever situation he found himself in. That's Matthew 19:26. Gifts. Jesus provided the gift of salvation for us. That's Ephesians 2:4-9. Physical affection. Jesus allowed his hands, his feet, and his body to be pierced for us. That's John 19. And so as we operate in these 5 love languages, and we take the time to learn our own and to learn our husband's love languages, if he's not seeing Jesus, then he's not seeing the right thing. And so as we're thinking about, okay, what makes me feel loved? What makes him feel loved? Let's make sure that we're first and foremost making sure that we're showing love of Christ, because that's what propels us to love and to be loved, to give love and receive love, and then it spills over into all our other relationships. Our friends see the difference, our unsaved family members see the difference, I see the difference in my husband sees the difference in me, and prayerfully our daughter will see the difference between the love that we have for each other and the love that we have for Christ. And that's all I have. Thank you.